Good morning.
Good morning. It's August 6th, 2023, and our topic today is awakening to your passion. So let's go within, first of all, and do an opening affirmative prayer. And for those of you who pop in a little later, please mute yourself. So as we go within to that place where we know and we feel that we are connected with the all that is, our Father, Mother, Creator, God, the essence of all life, the essence of all creativity. We know in spirit we are one with it. And so we know that everything that is created for us to be with, for us to enjoy, for us to experience, for us to grow. And so we know that we have the right to pursue our passions, to pursue what brings us excitement, joy, and creativity. And so today we explore, what is it that brings us joy? What is it that gives us this sense of purpose and what we love doing and being and experiencing? For we know that it is the Father's good pleasure to give to us the kingdom and all things added unto it. So we choose to accept that gift. We choose to explore our desires. We choose to explore what brings us joy. We give thanks, we release, and together we say,
And so it
so
is.
it is. So we start by asking ourselves, what is my passion? And especially for some of us, as we get into many decades of life, we can find lots of reasons not to pursue our passions anymore. We don't have as much energy. We don't have as much time left to pursue them. And so it's very easy to just stop even thinking about what brings us joy and what makes us feel passionate. And we're here to urge you today to stop it. Just stop doing that. Stop thinking about how much time you have left or how much energy you have left, and start thinking about what is it that brings you joy.
I guess from here we can just go to the music and close. Just stop it. That's it.
I want to read you
That's the quickest lesson we've ever given.
Yes.
You sound like one of my favorite comedians.
I know. That's where I got it from. Do we want to give him credit?
Yeah.
Can we think of his name?
It's okay.
Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart. Yeah.
Bob Newhart did a funny skit about that. Okay, so this quote is from Lisa Carson, who is from the Thailand Center of Spiritual
Who knew
Living.
we had one?
Who knew we had one there? But she says some people are not aware of their passion and dismiss the concept, believing they don't even have one. Perhaps the word passion has become too obscure or elusive. One way to awaken our passion or discover it is to substitute the word joy. What brought you joy as a child? Uncovering this can reveal something profound. So that's what Lisa has to say, and I appreciate her for it, because I enjoyed thinking about what did I love doing as a child. And I was adventurous. I loved adventure. I loved exploring. What I remember exploring was once we got to Venezuela and everything was new and strange and different and a little dangerous. And it was fun exploring territories. And so we did that. We explored the beach, and I loved swimming. I loved diving from the dock. We didn't have any diving boards. So I was diving in the equivalent of a high board from one of the docks that we had there, little dock, we called it. And it just brought me a lot of joy, even just thinking about it. And later on in high school, I loved musical theater, the musicals, and I had a big long playing record and learned all the words to all the songs from West Side Story. And And I did some acting and some plays and whatnot and enjoyed that. I'm not a singer, unfortunately, so I couldn't go full bore with that. I could, but nobody would want to listen. And when I went to college, I decided I just don't have time for this because I was in pre-med, and I said I've got to make a decision here because acting takes lots of time to learn your lines and do all the practicing, and I knew I would not have time to do both. But I still enjoy watching musicals and appreciate the talent. And Bob, we talked about some of the things you loved doing as a kid. What did you love?
Sitting in my room, just being very quiet,
Not likely.
behaving,
Not like
asking my parents what they wanted me to do next so that I could be a really good child, or shooting wasp with my BB gun, riding my bicycle great distances wherever I could to explore freedom. And what I noticed, though, when I think about it is, and the questions I wanted to ask today of each of you, and I have to ask myself this too, is what were the things that you did as a child, of course, that you got excited about? And when did you stop doing those, or why have you stopped doing those? And are those things that you could do again? But I think part of what's happening for me as I get older is that I have more good reasons for not doing the things that I used to do, like time, energy, fear. And I think fear is one of those things that really interrupts our process. I remember when I used to love going to concerts. And I'm thinking now, it wasn't that long ago, somebody said, well, why don't you go to a concert? I said, oh, there's parking. There's the long line you have to wait for. There's, I don't know. It's just a lot of work.
a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And I think what happens is that we start narrowing the numbers of things we can do or will do that used to bring us joy because there's work involved. And some of that has to do with energy. Some of that has to do with experience. But what I want us to pay attention to is, are you shutting down or shutting off the avenues that bring you joy, the things that used to bring you joy, that could bring you joy again if you decided it's worth doing. We can do this. I'm willing to put on whatever I need to put on or take off whatever I need to take off in order to get to do what it used to bring me joy. The questions that I ask myself is, what is it that I used to do or I do now that when I do it, time stands still? There is no time. And that's a really important piece. If when you're doing something that used to bring you joy and you're watching your watch, either you need to stop watching your watch or you need to ask yourself, is something changed? Or am I having a difficult time allowing myself to connect or to engage? And if that's true, then what can I do to change that? That's one thing. And I think it's really important. The other thing that I discovered as an artist and as a writer, that writing and drawing both are wonderful expressions of creativity, but they're also things that push me to the edge of adventure. They push me into, what if it doesn't work? Well, it's definitely not going to work all the time. How am I going to manage that? What am I going to do? And I think what we end up with as we get older, if we're not careful, is I only want to do fail-safe things. And the truth is that a lot of our greatest achievements were when we knew that we might fail and it was going to be okay because we could keep trying, we could do it again. Mm-hmm. That's why some years ago, and I've said this before when I've talked here, that I used to call life an adventure. Now I call it a safari. And the reason that I call it a safari is because I signed up for it. That's one. Two, I'm equipped for it. That's important. And three, if a lion or a tiger or a bear jumps out from the bush, I say, oh my God, that's wonderful. And I have to change that from that old script from, well, what if there's lions and tigers? What if there's a bear? What if something bad? What if the coyote? What? Stop it. If that happens and you signed up for it, it's what you look forward to. It's the excitement, it's the adventure. And so part of what I'm thinking when it comes to it, that what we're passionate about is, are we willing to jump back into the adventure and know that we're equipped to manage it even if we fall down? Even if it doesn't go well all the time. In fact, the most wonderful and thrilling thing about the adventure or the safari is at the end of the day, being able to go back and look at what you did and how you did it. I'm reminded of the Dances with Wolves movie where Kevin Costner, after the big buffalo hunt, sits in the circle and they ask him to tell the story of the hunt. Well, they just did the hunt again. And he said, okay. And he tells it again and tell it again, because there's risk involved. There was the possibility that one of those huge buffalo that weighs over 2,000 pounds would undo any number of them. And that would be the end of them. And so by the time the hunt is over, they have their buffalo, but they've also survived, and they want to talk about their survival. And so I think what we really need to do is to allow ourselves to re-engage in the passion of living, knowing we will fall down, we will get knocked down, we will be put down. And all of those things don't stop us from lifting ourselves up, picking ourselves up and saying, yes, I can do this and I will do this. One of our members is a photographer, and I love the pictures that she takes of the wildlife that she has around her. And so, the more times that she shows us the owls and feeding
Turtle?
the turtle, the tortoise, actually, she got a turtle, but the coyotes. And I showed somebody that a while back. I said, you got to see this at work. I said, you got to see these coyotes. And coyotes, oh my God, they're scary. I said, no, they're wonderful. No, they're not wonderful. I don't even want to look at it. I'm scared. I thought, we scare ourselves so easily when we don't need to be scared. What we need to do is to say, these are all my friends in the adventure. These are all the things that I can do. So what I'm suggesting that we do, if you haven't done this in a while, is ask yourself, what is it I'm afraid of? Do I need to be afraid of it? And can I take small steps or any steps at all in the direction of allowing myself to re-engage in my passion? Or do I have a story, like many of us do? Yeah, I used to do that. And, I did that for a lot of years. But, as you get older, you have to stop doing some of those things. And I've given up. And that's the way it is. And before I turn it back over to Judith, I want to share another real short one is about passion, which I thought we watched yesterday, a wonderful documentary.
Quincy
Quincy
Jones.
Jones. I love the story. And if you haven't got it, it's on Netflix. It's worth watching. And one of the things that he did, he belonged to a gang. He was in Chicago. He was a mischievous kid, in trouble, did whatever he said he needed to do, broke as many rules as he needed to break, and knew that eventually he probably would get shot or go to jail, which is what happened to a lot of his fellow kids. One day he broke into
no, that was after they moved to Washington. His father took them out of Chicago when he was 11, and they moved to Washington State.
And he broke into an armory.
Yes, the National Guard armory.
Yeah, because he wanted to be a soldier. No, he just broke in to see what it was like. And he said, as he said, I tinkled on a piano keys. And I realized at that point, that's what I wanted to do. He discovered his passion in the midst of breaking an entry that could have cost him reform school or, some sort of punishment. From that point on, he engaged, or as one of my favorite authors, whose name I also can't remember, said, put in his 10,000 hours, and he became a producer, a writer, a musician, a talent that in his 90s still producing, still going.
But at 16,
yeah,
he was playing in one of the top bands.
Count Basie.
He went to New York City, didn't he?
Yeah,
to do. He was 16 years old. 16 years old, playing a trumpet. So he went from piano to trumpet, and he plays a number of instruments.
Oh, yeah, and then he became a composer.
And then became an arranger first. He started arranging the music for the bands playing.
The other piece that I want to share with you about this is it wasn't an easy journey. Sadly, because he was a Black man, there was a lot of prejudice, a lot of things that held him back when he was performing with Frank Sinatra in Vegas with several other Black musicians. All of them had to go to the back of the hotel to come in and couldn't stay at the hotel until Frank Sinatra said, if they don't stay, then I don't stay. And basically, Frank Sinatra changed the whole racial profile of Vegas from that time forward. And imagine Sinatra standing up to the mob, who owned the casinos at the time, and having his way with that. But thinking about what he had to go through to pursue his passion. What are we willing to go through to pursue our passion? They had to go
to the other side of town.
Yeah.
There was a Black section of town.
Yeah.
To stay in a Black motel. Who would have thought Las Vegas was ever segregated?
And then years later, this man is doing incredibly well, and he wants to write a movie score. And the reason he wants to write a movie score, of course, is because he went to France. I think it was England, France. It was France, and was being trained on how to score by the person who taught Stravinsky. I mean, you don't get better training than that. And Hollywood producers said, "Can a Black man write
music for white actors?
For white actors?" Oh my God, this is Hollywood, the liberal city. These are the obstacles this man had to overcome to pursue his passion. So one might argue that the more difficult it is, the more adventure there is, the greater the achievement, the greater the outcome. And I just think it's really, really important for us to allow ourselves to face the fear and do it anyway, face the fear and ask ourselves, is the fear really justified, or is it just sort of a reflex action rather than something?
Issue.
Yeah, I think sometimes we say no before we could say yes. And it's the first thing, no, I don't do that. Well, why not? Well, I don't know. And then we come up with reasons. Maybe the first thing we ought to do is we talked about it yesterday or last week was say yes. Now let's see how we can do it. If it's too much to drive and there's no place to park, we'll get an Uber. Let them do the work. Figure out how you can pursue your passion as opposed to coming up with why it is it's just too late, you're too tired, you can't do it, done it before. And watch. The problem with is that we're dying from a lack of living. We're not dying from aging.
Mm-hmm. So, and largely we say no to our passions because of fear, as Bob said. And an acronym for fear that's good to remember is false evidence appearing real. So, oh, I can't do that. It's too hard to succeed in that profession. As so many give up their dreams of being an actor or singer or whatnot. And it is tough, and you have to be willing to do the tough stuff and work the hard long hours. Everybody's got to be a master. You have to put in your 10,000 hours. And certainly Quincy Jones did that to the expense of 3 marriages.
Yeah.
He's very close with all his children, but his wives gave up on never seeing him because he worked so hard and all night long and often in other places around the country. So, and he never wanted any of those divorces, but he wasn't home, he was working. So there was a cost for him for that. But I wanted to give you a quote from Ernest Holmes too about life and living. He says, life is not just something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in a fullness without limit. So that's the gift I'd like you to think about giving yourself. Can you live to the fullest possibly? I'm very proud. I've got to praise some of our people that I know have done things. So the latest is Carol Grant, who moved to a new area and was finding herself not visited as much as she was in her other place and found it a little lonely. So what she's done is she's starting a podcast, and so that people have asked her to do for years, and she's finally consented, letting them do the technical part. So she is bringing everybody to her home on her screen, on her computer screen. And I just thought, good for you, Carol. And what a wonderful solution. I have another person in our organization who had gone through a really significant health scare,
health challenge, yeah.
Health scare, surgery in her 80s, and she from then on she said, I'm here to have fun. That's what I'm here to do. She recovered from all of that, and she started a group that travels. She started a tour company for seniors to go various places in Florida. There's so much interesting to see here. And when you're down in our area, you think that it's all here, but it's not. It's all over the state. And so they did that, and she took up acting in plays. She started to, she'd never acted, but why not? It would be fun. So I really salute people who do that. They don't let age be an obstacle. They don't let energy be an obstacle. They just go for it.
Yeah, we have to celebrate our living by our aliveness by living.
Exactly. And if it's not coming to you, you need to get out. You need to get out and be with people. The pandemic gave most of us an excuse to stay indoors too much. So I think that we need to reach out and be with one another and inspire one another, because we do inspire each other. What else would I want to say?
You had something, I know.
Oh, we talked about that. so often we give up our dreams for security's sake,
Mhm.
that, and by security, we largely mean money. Security is, oh, I don't think I could make a living or that, and you don't have to make a living at it. You can make a living any way you find that you can and want to, but at the same time, you could pursue your passion as a hobby. You could pursue it, it's just something that you do in your off time. My passion for the beach is still present, and when most of my adult life I've lived near a beach, thank goodness. But I did decide that as a child. I said, when I grow up, I'm going to live near a beach because I love the ocean. I love swimming in it. I love playing in it. I loved snorkeling in it at the time. Did become a diver. I love diving in it. And because I thought as a child, why would I want to live anyplace other than where there's a beach? When, of course, there were a few years where I didn't have any power over that. But, the power of decision in your mind is very powerful, what you want as a child. And that had nothing to do with making a living, and it doesn't have to. It's just one of my passions, one of my pleasures. So that's why we ask you to maybe go into a little meditation and ask yourself, what did I love doing as a child? And how has that shown up in my life? Have I done that? Have I um, done my 10,000 hours to be an expert in that area?
There are places we would like to go. So one of the ways we go there now is we actually look for the documentaries on the areas we'd like to travel. If we can't afford to travel or don't have the time to travel right now, can we find another way to travel, or do we have to say it's done?
Exactly, yeah.
And
We find
so,
we really enjoy that because you can get you can get as much information and pleasure from seeing it without wearing yourself out walking.
yeah.
And it is, as we find it very enjoyable.
So our talk today is really allowing your aliveness to blossom, allowing your aliveness to blossom through living, not putting yourself on hold until it seems like it's safe to live. It will never
Or
be
too late to live.
right. It'll never be as safe as you need for it to be. I was also thinking about somebody that we heard. I don't know. It may have been on NPR that was talking about. Their favorite person was their grandfather, except that he was such a grouch, and he was kind of grumpy all the time. But still, this young boy loved him, and he said he was such a grump because for 15 years he lived by himself, and he didn't do anything. He didn't go out, so he became a real grump. Well, if you think about it, when you get older, and it's more difficult to get out and do things, is it now time for you to become a prisoner? Or have you become imprisoned by your fears? Have you been imprisoned by the limitations that you have imposed on yourself because other people tell you that you've reached an age now where you shouldn't be doing that? I get feedback every day that I shouldn't be riding my motorcycle because I could get killed. And I say, well, actually, I'm closer to the end anyway. I think I won't be losing as many years as I would be otherwise. But I get on the motorcycle and I take off, and it just feels like I'm still 18. I'm 18 again. And if I'd rather die at 18 than I would in bed at 78, having worried, having been afraid. And so I think it's really, really important for us, if we can, to give ourselves permission to enjoy our aliveness.
Right, right. And remember, it is the Father's good pleasure for you to have pleasure. That's a very important thing to do because we often think, well, and it may have started from your parents. So, no, we can't do that. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. No, you can't do that. And so we start saying no to ourselves unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So start making a list, things I'd like to do, be, or have, start making a list because know that God wants you to have a great experience while you're here.
So last but not least, if you are so infirmed that you're unable to walk, unable to get out of your house or your apartment or with the condition that you're in, you really can't do that. There are too many things limiting you. Then would you please do your best to connect with somebody who is living that life and talk to that person, share with that person, hear that person, allow their passion to filter through you. Invite somebody who's doing the things you wished you could do, that you used to do, to come and have a conversation with you. Why? Because we don't want to lose track of our aliveness, even when we can't do everything that we used to do. I'm reminded of a hospital situation that's supposed to be a true story, where the two patients were in beds, one closer to the window than the other. The one man who was not close to the window was blind, and he would ask the person next to him, "Would you please describe what's happening outside?" And the man next to him would describe in great detail all of the events of the day. And he said, "Oh,
The
that's
beautiful sunset.
oh my God, it was beautiful." And he just, so then that patient was discharged. And another patient came in and he said, "Would you please describe to me what's going on?" And he said, "What do you mean? What's going on? There's nothing behind that window. It's a wall." And he's there was nothing. And he thought, "You're kidding." He said, "No." He said, "Well, the last man that was here," he said, he made all that up. Make up some good stuff. Make up the life you want to live in and then step into it. Allow yourself to dream it first and then see what happens, that you could move in the direction of unfolding your dream. Why not?
So would you like to close this?
Yes, yes. So if you can close your eyes and feel safe doing that, which I do, and I know that we are all safe to be able to close our eyes, to open the inner eye of our own consciousness, to open that vision that we have of a life well lived that is continually being lived. Today, right here and right now, we say yes to our aliveness. We say yes to the joy of aliveness. We say yes to the recollections that we have that encourage and empower us to move forward in such a dynamic and beautiful way. We say yes to life and no to fear. And we know that this adventure unfolding is the life we signed up for, that we want, desire, and require. Knowing that this is true, we say thank you. Together we say, and so it is.
So be it.
Okay. So we're going to do share screen now. And this is our next step here. Okay. And do you want to talk about that?
Sure. We know we are supported. Our Center for Spiritual Living of the Palm Beaches is supported by people who are expanded and grow through our teaching, and that watch us on our YouTube channel and here on Sundays. And so if this talk has helped you at all, we ask you to please support us. And ways to donate, this is our website page, which is not on here right now, but it's cslpalmbeaches.org. And you can click on this ways to donate. It opens up and you have various ways. And many of you do this and do this regularly in a tithing situation. A tithing meaning not necessarily tenthing of your income, but regular committed giving. And we appreciate that, because you should be doing that anyway to whatever the source of your inspiration is. So if it inspires you, give to it, support it. And we give thanks for that. Now, our affirmation is not here.
That's right. We don't have that. So why don't you give us an affirmation?
Okay, because I can never remember that one.
Let's simply affirm right here and right now
My investment today.
that our investment today in the living that we're doing is the investment we want to make in everything that we possibly can, so that life will unfold in a dynamic and beautiful way. And we say yes to giving to the Center for Spiritual Living in Palm Beaches. As much as it supports us, we support it, and we say thank you for the support that we get and that we give.
Thank you very much. Okay.
And so it is. And now we're going to stop share, and we are going to end the recording part. Stop recording.